temperatures finally cooled off, and I'm going to talk about something I'm probably going to get hate mail about, which is all right, which is I don't understand why people are embarrassed and ashamed to talk about the resources they have. It's almost like the victim culture has been idealized. I see this a lot more with women, by the way. These women, they'll say, I'm strong, and I do this, and I do that. And what they leave out is they don't have to work for a living. They have a housekeeper, a gardener, etc. And they're, doing a passion. Yeah, because their husband's supporting them. One time I said this to somebody. I said, well, she's a psychic. She's rented an office. Her husband's paying for everything. And the response was, she has her own credit card. I said, but her husband pays her credit card bill. What is this? Why not say I'm so blessed that I have a husband that funds my hobby, because it's not an income, or maybe it pays for groceries, which is good. But why not say it that way? Or my parents bought me a car, or I'm so lucky, that I got support. And what's so interesting to me is that this is sociological also. I recently talked to someone from mainland China, or from Hong Kong. And immediately he told me, my parents bought a house so we can live in America. And, then I can go to school. We're not paying lots and lots of money for rent. And that was like right off the bat, this is a great thing. Talk to an American, they're like, I've been on my own, and I did this and I did that. I literally have had people say things like, I have no family, what am I going to do? 2 years later, if they're still around me, I find out they have a sister, they have a brother-in-law, they have parents, they have support. It was just emotionally, they didn't think so. That I can excuse, because that was kind of like a trauma freak out, and the person literally said they had no family. I had another person, a mother, asking me if I would take her child if something happened to her. She was broke. She paid for a car and a house, and she tried to run a little store that wasn't making money, and she's weeping. A few years later, I find out she's from like a kabillionaire trust fund family and doesn't have to work and doesn't pay any bills whatsoever, including mortgage, rent, and private school. And that person was not in a trauma space. In other words, they weren't under so much pressure that their brain was cracking. And years later, when I brought it up, they stopped coming around again. I said, how can we work together if we don't address this? Because working together, we have to feel comfortable enough to be honest, at least to some degree. I'm so frustrated with it because, like I said, I think a lot of this is cultural, that we worship I pulled myself up from the bootstraps, whereas Asian cultures are, I am so proud to be a member of my family and my community, and how much help I got and how much help I gave. It makes it really hard to work with somebody when they're so busy posturing, or when they're hiding their resources in shame. On a more selfish personal observation, a lot of times in the past, I would cut people tremendous financial breaks while I was struggling to keep my head above water, and I would see that person in a 5-star hotel in Hawaii a week later. That had to happen to me 10 times before I finally got it through my thick skull to not believe what the person believed, because reading their energy, they so believe that they're in dire straits. That's what I was picking up, and I couldn't get past that because it triggers my own codependency to save everybody that I possibly can. So what do you get out of being a victim? That's the question to ask yourself. How does that help you? How does that self-soothe you? How does that cement your relationships? Because when we make choices like that, it's always because that choice works, no matter how dysfunctional it is. If you're an alcoholic, at that time, that's a choice that is saving your life. That's why people do it. And it's only until we start examining it and looking at what is it saving that I can start looking at what's another way to save myself than alcohol or posing as a victim, even to myself. If you're interested in doing some work, you want a teacher, a guide, an elder, you want to learn to work with energy and psychic, energetic skills for real, so you can be a helpful person on the planet, make an appointment for a 30-minute introductory session. If you're looking for a quick psychic reading, please don't make a 30-minute introductory session. Go to Psychic Access, great company, I used to work for them. Or they have a free session, first session. At least they used to, I haven't checked lately. Or you can try California Psychics, but please don't call me for that for 30 minutes. I'm interested in helping people help themselves, not giving a free quickie reading. Please don't be offended, but I have to pay bills and live on the earth. All right, signing off. It's a gorgeous day. The heat's gone. Yeehaw!